Hi, Chris. How are you?
All right, good. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Okay, great. Where
thanks.
are you where are you located?
Oh, I'm outside of Minneapolis.
Oh, cool, cool, cool. Oh, great. I think
Yeah.
I have a couple cons in that area next year.
Oh, great.
I'll have to let you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that we got to do this.
Yeah, me too. I'm sorry it took so long.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
So I could just jump around then with your career.
Yeah, you can jump around, yeah, for sure.
So I know in terms of professional acting, the way that you got noticed was from doing PA at a Bennigan's.
Oh, wow. That's actually how I got discovered to sing in an orchestra, all
Right.
the songs of the women that voiced Betty Boop. That was actually my foray into Betty Boop in the 1920s music. Yeah. Yeah, but I was working at Disney at the time in entertainment.
Okay.
But yeah, so I was also part-time working at night in a Bennigan's.
Mhm.
And somebody heard me say, last call for alcohol. And this guy came up with his paper collar and his little round glasses. And he's like, say there, do you sing by any chance? And I'm like, sure. And so I went and auditioned for their orchestra. I was only 18 at the time. And I sang with them for 11 years, the Coconut Manor Orchestra. And we sang all the songs of the 1920s pop singers and Helen Kane and Annette Henshaw and the women that voiced Betty Boop. So that was kind of how I got into voicing Betty Boop.
Mhm. Are you still playing her too?
Yes, I am. There's actually a big commercial campaign coming out, and it should be coming out this summer. I worked with a company out in London, and I'm super excited about it.
Wow.
So yeah, it's gonna be a very cool part of Betty and women's empowerment, and so I'm super excited.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Was working with Disney then also how you got into SAG?
No, living in Orlando, I got into Screen Actors Guild. I was actually in AFTRA first, and at that time the unions were not merged. And so I had done radio commercials, and I also did a couple pilots for Nickelodeon and a show called Welcome Freshman, where I played Vlad the Impaler's wife. It's a really cool show that Nickelodeon had on in the 90s. But in 1990, no, in the 80s, in 1990, I was cast in a movie called Super
Super cool.
Force. Yes, and I had to play a space hooker. And and the movie was set in it was shot and filmed in 1990, and it was set in 2020.
Yep.
So it was a very different view of 2020, but it was how I got my SAG card. And I had to wear razor blade fingernails that were about this long, and I had space hair, and it only had like 3 lines. But yeah, that's how I got my SAG card, playing a space hooker.
Did you have or like I guess what was the any kind of event that made you pursue voiceover opposed to on camera more?
Yeah, in while I was in Orlando, I was working for Disney. I was an entertainer performing in many live shows, stage shows. And often I would get a call, whether it would be from the local Make a Wish program or the entertainment department. Do you think you can do Mickey for the parade? We just need this one line. Do you think you can do, there's a little boy that's calling the office and he wants to talk to Mickey, he has cancer, right? So they would use me because I was on stage singing and dancing right next to Minnie and Mickey and all the characters for a good part of 11 years.
Yep.
So yeah, so I was very familiar with, their voices. And so I did do that. And then a woman named Sue Blue, she's a director. She directed Curious George, but she's also been a voice actor for many, many years, an amazing talent. And she came and gave a voiceover workshop in Orlando. And I did her weekend workshop, and I was just in love with her passion and her excitement and her energy. And I didn't really know much about animation voiceover and Los Angeles as a market. And so, yeah, I took her class, and that I really got the bug. I said, I want to try this.
Mm-hmm. I know in terms of anime, it would have been the first roles that you had were when Bang Zoom was just starting out.
Yeah, actually, there were two studios. One was called ZRO, and they were starting to bring product over from Japan to dub professionally, and also Bang Zoom. So those two studios kind of started up at the same time. We're dubbing and professionally, because until then, except for Robotech, it was pretty much all fan-based dubs. They were traded at conventions. They were underground. It wasn't an acknowledged industry. Actors didn't really know the technique about, of how to dub. So it was so new, such a new industry. And yeah, I mean, we really had to learn the technique as we were working. And then as technology improved, so did the way we recorded the English dubs. Yeah.
I know some of the first credits would have been stuff like Fist of the North Star and Gestalt and Ninja Cadets.
Yeah. Very, very true. I think Ninja Cadets was my first anime. And that's where I was really like learning how to dub and, wait for the beeps and watch the numbers going across the screen. It was very much like this. Yeah. Everything's going on at once. But yeah, that was in a little garage, somebody's back house garage studio. That's where everything got started. So Ninja Cadets was my first one. Fist of the North Star. Yeah, that was very exciting. I didn't say much, but as that little orphan Lynn, I yelled, Ken, where are you?
And then in the second season of Rayearth, aside from singing the theme songs, Aska.
Yeah, Lady Aska. She was a temper tantrum, spoiled little brat princess, and she was fun. Yeah, I was happy to voice her. But I really enjoyed translating the English, the adaptation, or taking the translation, and Lex and I actually wrote the adaptation, because at that time in the studio and where technology was in the 90s, they couldn't separate the Japanese background vocals from the main track. So we had to write the lyrics that made sense from the Japanese translation to English translation that sounded very much like the Japanese background vocals, so that they were seamless and you wouldn't really notice. And we couldn't change the pitches at that time. We just got the direct tracks and we just had to work with what we had. So yeah, but that was really, really fun. And now, I mean, technology, studios, vocals have come so far.
Yeah. Have you actually gotten to sing in character for any anime?
I like little bits, not so much anime. I think I did a lot of more singing in the kids shows that I work on in mainstream animation, JJ the Jet Plane, and then also Lily Leapfrog in the early Leapfrog videos, and Penny the hamster in Numberland. So lots of little kids shows. But yeah, I can't think of any anime at this time. I did record the English dub of the opening theme song for Rurouni Kenshin.
Right.
Freckles, yeah. So I did that, and that was really fun. That was really exciting.
I do think. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that Judy and Mary track.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, outside of Kenshin, I think the first thing that instilled your voice in my head though was Mistral and the dot hack games.
That's right. Yeah, dot hack, Mistral, and then I also voiced Murray, the treasure hunter, and all of those series of games. Phantom Brave. Morona, Ash and Morona. And yeah, but Dot Hack was fun. Dot Hack was fun. Yeah, I think that would be a really cool series.
Right. Yeah.
Just to go, you know, full-blown series with that one. So much fun.
And then one of your pretty early darker series, or at least, I mean, the character you played wasn't dark, but probably my single favorite role of yours is a Goonie in a Night
In Night
Walker.
Walker, yeah, yeah. Goonie, and also in Gestalt, I played Suzu the dark elf. Yeah, yeah. That was fun. That was like really one of my, you know, evil roles, and she was throwing fireballs and Dr. Olivier, you know. Yeah.
Well, what do you, I can probably guess what it is, but what do you think the darkest headspace you've had to go for anime is?
Oh, most definitely the arc. I believe it's the Infinity arc where Chibiusa goes into Black Lady.
Okay.
I would have to say that's one of them. Yeah, that really comes to mind, especially because we recorded that series almost every week or other week for 5 years. So I was really on that journey with my character. And yeah, that was a really dark place she was in when she transformed into Black Lady. You know, wounded, and Wiseman was just filling her head with doubt, and, you know, nobody loves you, nobody cares about you. And it was really that dark night of the soul for her.
Mm-hmm. Was that difficult at all to lower your register?
No, because I actually, for years of singing, I have a good range, and, you know, I can go there, and most of the time I sang, you know, alto anyway, but it's not so much the pitch. It was just like her darkness, right? Like her woundedness. And I think a lot, I always have this theory that a lot, if you really study the most evil characters in Marvel and movies and TV, you can really see that they all came from a wounded place and then turned, you know, wanted to destroy themselves in the world, right? Or just, you know, lash that out back at the world. So it's really interesting. Yeah. But no, when I actually auditioned, because, you know, I get cast for my voice, you know, most of the time they're just like, no, we want your voice, you know, cute voice, sweet voice, or what, you know, if they're characters or little kids. I play a lot of little kids. And it was so funny. They said, oh, for the audition for Chibiusa, you're going to have to read for this part of this arc where she turns into Black Lady. And so we need her to be like evil. So they sent back the first audition and they go, she's way too dark and evil. You know, make her younger, you know, make her a little younger. And I thought, yes. It was pretty exciting to get that note. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do evil characters. But I really love the characters. I was funny. I was at a Anime Riverside. We just did a convention, and I was looking at my table of prints and cards and things. And it was so funny because I'm like, almost all of my characters are pink. They either have pink hair, they're pink, they're cute, they have little hearts, you know. So yeah, it's really fun.
Well, still touching on Chibiusa, do you think that you also can, with how long you were playing her and have been playing her, do you think that you can personally relate to her a lot?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, her journey, I do feel like I came here with a mission. You know, I have a nonprofit. My husband and I, Lex, we have a nonprofit called the Love Planet Foundation. I do consider myself an activist. I do participate in community events or causes that come up, but I do. And I was raised by my mom, and as she was a single mom for most of my life. And so I do relate to her mission to help her mom, you know, to save her mom. So I can relate a lot to her, and being on her own at such a young age and trying to navigate that world and do what she came there to do. So yeah, I definitely relate. There's sometimes I would just read the script, and we don't really see the script beforehand, but when we're in the studio and I'd see what was coming up, I'm like, wow, this is like life, art imitating life, like I really resonate with a lot of Chibiusa's journey.
What was your if you could pick like a single favorite one, your favorite arc for her, or like moment for her in the original series?
Oh gosh, the original. Well, that was interesting because we would record the original and we'd almost record Crystal at the same time. You know what I mean? So, and Crystal was very different the way they told the story. It was more
Right.
film style. But, there's so many scenes I love in the original. I just love all those little moments of Chibiusa's relationship with Usagi, whether it be they're competing over who's going to bake the best cookies for Mamoru. But there was a lot of really sweet moments, like there was moments where Mamoru would kind of, wander and maybe meet another girl, and she'd be like, no, we got to keep them together because these are my future parents, or like she won't exist if they don't stay together. So things like that. And also any of the scenes with Pegasus,
Right.
where she'd be in her bed and just having those nighttime talks with Pegasus and his little music box. So yeah, so there's just so many. It's to me, I tell people that Sailor Moon really, to me, is like the Star Wars of anime.
Yep.
I think that the creator was so ahead of her time, and that it reaches so many people on such a primal level. And it really represents this, amazing spectrum of a world that we have,
Mhm.
and I love that everyone can relate to something in those characters, especially when those characters are struggling with their human self before they transform into their magical self. So, and I love the fact that, we can overcome anything when we all work together.
Right.
And they really showed that time and time again. We're stronger together. We help each other out. We have your back. And I think there's so many powerful messages. It's something you want to watch like over and over again to see them, just like Star Wars.
Yeah.
I watch it over and over, right? Just to see what did I not catch this time, that I want to catch. So.
Mhm. I think for me, personally, some of my favorite moments are in season 3. Just all of her interactions with Haruka and Michiru and Setsuna. Those are all it kind of brings out more of the mature side of her.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So many great moments.
Well, going back talking on dark characters, I know that one that's totally unlike anything that you've played is Haruna in Durarara.
Oh yeah, that's right. Thank you. Yes, that one. And I love the direction. The producer would say she's like, very zombie-like, right? But also play her like a creepy, delicate flower. Like there were lots of fun, direction for her. But yeah, for sure. And those are the harder characters to play for me. I usually play lots of high energy characters, like excited, joyful characters. So when you have to play deadpan and zombie, and it's like it's a whole different way to express. So it's interesting. Those are more challenging for me, but I'm always up for the challenge. I love it. Yeah. And there's a lot of characters in that storyline arc, isn't there?
Yep.
Yeah. There's like 100, different characters in Durarara. Yeah.
What kind of a case touching on that where it's a really sprightly character in a show that ends up getting serious is Chobits, of course.
Oh, Chobits, yeah. Sumomo, yeah. So much fun. And Sumomo, again, another cute little character. And I just love that she was like the little GPS, the little PDA, alarm clock, wake up. Yeah, that was really fun. That was a fun show too. Yeah, like I said, it's somebody said, well, what are your favorite characters to play? And they always say it's like picking your favorite child. It's really hard because when you're recording at that time and you're in that story, especially if they're lovable, adorable, sweet, fun characters, you're just having a great time, portraying them.
Some other early Central ones I haven't seen you talk about much. Please Teacher.
Yes, that was directed by Tony Oliver.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gene Shaft.
Yep, Gene Shaft. Yep. So those are all Bang Zoom days. Stelvia, have you ever heard of Stelvia?
Yep.
Yeah, I really loved my character design in Stelvia because she had like purple hair. I love purple, but that was really cool. Wendy Lee directed that. So many great actors that became directors and in the early anime days, and they're still directing today, which is wonderful, and teaching. So exciting. It's really exciting for me to see how this industry, this genre has evolved, because like I said, when I started in anime, it was underground. It wasn't really respected in the the acting entertainment world. And now it's, surpassed film, it's surpassed video games, there's its own, category. So there's whole streaming networks dedicated to it. So that's really exciting to me because the stories are so good and the animation is so beautiful. And there's a mysticism and this magical take on these worlds that they create. And so I really respect that, and I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Do you tend to consume a lot of the anime that you're in, or does it just depend?
No, it just depends. We usually don't get to see it beforehand. It's so fast, like you'll get an audition and then you start recording, within a week. So, or sometimes the content isn't available yet. But yeah, so it's usually after the fact when there's time, for sure. But I definitely watch more, I've watched like all the Sailor Moon. I've watched a lot of, Noah Zero, lots of different shows, more than I can say I've played the games that I've been in, because I really just haven't had the opportunity to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know pretty early on, around the same time as those shows I was mentioning, was when you started playing Flan in Disgaea.
Oh yes, Flan, Love and Justice Flan, Fallen Angel Flan. Yeah, it's so funny too. Love and Justice, this symbiotic theme that's in Sailor Moon. But yeah, Flan is fun. Flan is fun. I hope they bring more Flan and Disgaea back, because that's a really fun series, and it's always a fan favorite.
Right.
Just the dynamic between the characters and the printies, and yeah.
What were your thoughts on what she became, even though she's still technically good?
Yeah, it's again like one of those Gollum kind of characters, like inside there's good in there somewhere. And same thing with Risky Safety. I don't know if you've ever seen Risky Safety.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got to play Risky, and Michelle Ruff played, voice Safety, and it was like the little devil, little angel on your shoulder. And here's this young teenage girl, and we're playing out those roles. But Risky, I always felt Risky struggle with having to be that little dark, and taunting energy on her shoulder, because I felt like Risky at some point wanted to be good, so there you could see the struggle. Yeah, I feel that way with Flan too. She tries. And it's funny because when you talk about, where the character goes, I know for my character Chibiusa, that was her superpower, is her purity and her good heart and her big heart. And, she's just, bombards the world with love. And that's how that's how she treats her enemies. But I think too, where she gets in trouble is she sees the good in everyone and just falls in. So it's interesting, to watch how these characters evolve.
There's some similarities with Yellowheart and the Neptunia games.
Yes, and Peachy and Yellowheart. Yeah. Yep. I guess it's a theme. It's a theme in my career.
Who do you have the most affinity with your Tales series characters?
Oh yeah, Patty Fleur, Tales of Esparia. Yeah. So for sure, those are fun. I love the Tales games. It's a lot of it's a big chunk of recording in a very short time. So like I said, I haven't played the Tales games, but just from the recording sessions, do I know my characters?
Mm-hmm. And I know with Fire Emblem, with playing the male version of Kana, do you have a particular process for doing boy voices?
Well, for me, I think one really important aspect of voiceover is the physicality of it. And for me, because I do voice more little girls than I do boys. Right. So if I have to dig in and get a boy, I'll just change the way I stand. I'll change my attitude. I'll get it in my body first. Like I'll just really like move into a boy, and the way I like move my head and just work with the voice, and then I'll find out who is this little boy and like what's he up to, so it's like if you get it in your body, like for me that's where it starts to transition, is in the body first, more than just shifting the voice. A lot of people can shift back and forth like that. Mm-hmm. When I did JJ the Jet Plane, I played Tracy, who was very smart and very ambitious and go-getter, and then Snuffy, who was actually in the same episode, he was more nervous and he was really scared, and so I had to feel that in my body too, like a little apprehensive and not sure where he is, and he's just a young little plane. So there's just lots of ways that we do it, but definitely the way I was taught was physicality, and that really works for me. Even when I'm doing on camera acting, it always helped, or live stage acting, I was always it brought so much more into it for me, deeper into the character, when I could just put on a pair of glasses or the wig or the costume, or it just helped me do it from the outside in as well as the inside out.
I know it's kind of more rare in anime to do it as well, but have you gotten to perform with yourself very often?
Not very often. No, not very often. I did have to do it a couple times in the early days of JJ the Jet Plane. We'd do the scripts back and forth, but most of the time they run down the one character, and then you go back and you run down the second character. Incidental, they call it, just right. Like one little random mom or kid in the background, then that's easy, because then you don't want to go all the way back in the script. So they'll just say, hey, can you catch this incidental?
What do you think the case where you've had to alter your voice the most significantly for something is then?
I would say it has to be for creatures, more creature sounds. I would say when I did Grand Blue Fantasy for Vern, the little dragon, he's raspy, I ain't no lizard, I'm a dragon, so I would say those kind of voices that where I had to, it was actually like more of a creature, not like a human. But then, like in Tales of the Abyss, where I played Mew, Mew only said mew, 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 so that's all she did. Or, he, she.
Well, I know you got to, I did see the credit that you got to do some kind of monster stuff for the Maleficent movie.
Oh yeah, that was really cool. And Wreck-It Ralph too, because we played candies and popcorn, and there were 26 of us in the Walla group, the Loop group for the first film. And so we had to do a variety of different voices for that. But for Maleficent, it was a very small group of us. And the three women, we created the sound of the curse wind, and
Okay.
they merged they layered our voices together. And then we did little fairies, and then we did those little creatures that were having like the fight in the, in the bog, like that. They kind of had that Tasmanian devilness to them. And so that was really fun. Yeah. Maleficent, that was the first time, Maleficent, you saw it on the screen as well. So during the session, it was very dark,
Right.
and it went from these light little fairies to these tree monsters, which the guys did. But really exquisite filmmaking.
Have you gotten the opportunity to do ADR for a lot of major film and TV like that?
I worked on one of the first jobs I got when I moved to Los Angeles was working on The Simpsons.
Okay.
And so, so I worked on The Simpsons for 4 or 5 years. And then I worked on King of the Hill for 7 years. And I was in their weekly Walla group. We were the set Walla group, and we would just cover everything. And I did Futurama for a little bit, and then a show called The Critic.
Yep.
But they were all Fox shows, primetime on Fox. And so they often would use the sound supervisors would use the same group.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that was really my training into looping and Walla and background. But yeah, I've done movies and some TV shows, but not as much live action Walla as primetime, like animation Walla.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it is interesting. Having interviewed her as well, that I think it's really cool that Bridgette Hoffman shipped into doing all that now.
Oh yeah, her and her husband Riff.
Yep.
Yeah. And she was in Magic Knight Rayearth.
Yep.
Back in the day. She's a wonderful actress too. Wonderful.
I'm sure you've gotten asked this a lot too, but have you ever had to voice match Megan Mullally for anything?
No, but when the show was first on the air, I would be at the post office or in a restaurant, and people would say, "Oh my gosh, I love you on Will and Grace," and you're just like, "Ah, thanks, honey." You're like, what do you say, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, people do get excited. I'm like, no, I'm not her, But yeah, it was funny. I would have loved to have played her sister back then. I think Minnie Driver played her sister, but that would have been really fun.
Has there been a case where you've gotten really starstruck with who you were working with or meeting, or just in general?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think for a big part of my early life, I loved Bernadette Peters.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved everything about her, her voice and her singing and performing. And I went to New York and saw several Broadway shows, and one of them was when they brought Follies back, and she was in it with Danny Bernstein. And so for some reason, I don't know, it wasn't like I was waiting for her out the back door, but we were walking, around the theater, and she came out, and waiting for her car, and I got to meet Bernadette Peters and take a picture with her. And I also love her cause, Broadway Barks and Dog Rescue, and I don't know, I just love everything about her. I think she's a really cool, inspirational woman.
Yeah.
In our industry. Yeah. But yeah, sometimes, my first commercial when I moved to LA, I got to do a White Castle hamburger commercial. And I showed up at the session with Lorenzo Music, who is the original voice of Garfield, and Marvin Kaplan. I don't know if you ever saw Twin Peaks, but Marvin Kaplan's like an amazing character actor that goes way back. But I got to work with both of them, and that was really exciting to be in a session with them. And I did get to do a little stint. It was an appearance on Muppets Tonight.
Yeah.
And I had a scene with Kermit the Frog. And I think that's when I was the most starstruck because I was so excited. I'd been in love with Kermit the Frog my whole life. And I still am. But now it's another green guy named Grogu, but Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
But I was it was just so exciting to be on that set with all the puppeteers from Henson and to be able to exchange lines with Kermit.
Yeah. So going back to roles, I know you've gotten to do a lot in the Pokemon franchise as well.
Yeah, so I did a very short, they were little shorts called Pokemon Generations. And I played Courtney in Team Magma. Right. So she was another one that was a little bit, kind of off character. I really liked her. And she was in love with Maxie. And my husband played Maxie, which is kind of funny because we often will get cast and not even knowing it that we're, have these scenes together. But yeah, she was fun. She was she reminded me a lot of Haruna,
Mm-hmm.
Just a little off, she was just a little off. And that was directed by Richard and Ellen Epcar. So that was really fun to work with them. It's always fun to work with friends when they're directors because you get to see like a whole nother side of them than the actor. Yeah, and they're great, and they're all great. And then I, not too long ago, did an episode of Pokemon Journeys.
Right.
Yes, and I voiced Cricketina Kylie, and that was super exciting because I'm like, yes, I'm on screen with Pikachu. Like I was so excited, So yeah, that was fun. That was really fun. Yeah, I get starstruck on, in animation as well. Pikachu, oh my gosh.
Are you still also playing Renee in the Legend of Heroes, the Trails series?
Yeah, I don't know what's coming up for the new projects, but yeah. Okay. So at this point, yeah.
So what are some other, or I guess like safest things you can talk about that you're part of?
Yeah, it's kind of hard because you can't really talk about too many things. I just I can't talk about the exact one, but there's a lot of games coming, which I'm super excited about. I'm going to be working for 2 years on several new game projects, so that's really exciting. Something I can talk about is I wrote my first children's book.
Oh.
And it's called A Chakra Star Journey. And I did all the design on it as well. So I'm getting ready to self-publish that. So it'll be on Amazon Kindle and Apple Books and all that soon. And I am a member of Women in Animation. And I've been in this mentor circle for about 2 years with other writers and creators and producers. And so we have a slate of projects that I'm really excited about pitching and producing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know one of the most recent anime you got to work on. I was happy to see that you were part of Violet Evergarden. That's such a beautiful.
So beautiful. The music and the animation. Yeah, that was really, really well done. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I like that.
And you'll get to be coming back for the Sailor, you probably know about the Sailor Moon Cosmos movie.
Yeah, I heard about that. I saw the trailers. Yeah. So exciting. Yeah. You never know, right? I mean, we never know. A lot of times people are like, well, how come you didn't do this version of this or this version of Neptunia? And it's because it depends who's distributing it or, who's producing it or who has the rights to it. they try to keep all the original cast together. And but you never know in our industry. You just never know. But I do think Netflix is doing it because I think Eternal was really popular.
Yeah.
And it was great that they brought the whole catalog, the whole Viz Media catalog over to Netflix. So for me, that's so exciting because more people have the opportunity to see Sailor Moon. And like I said, it's such a special series. And I love when I'm at an anime con convention, you know, I'll often have the mother, the grandmother, and the little girl come through the table, like 3 generations that are sharing Sailor Moon with each other. And I think that's really special too.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, what's kind of cool about Sailor Moon, well, this is what struck me when I first started recording. I'm like, wow, that monster's a woman. That monster's a woman. Like so many female characters. Like it is not that traditional casting where there might be one evil woman, but it's like a lot of the monsters are women. And I think that's so many great roles for women, you know, Queen Beryl and all these different characters. So, and I love so many characters have many facets to them, to their personality. And like I said, their humanness, what they stumble with in the human world or struggle with, which every person can relate to. And then, you know, their transformations. And also like all the diverse world that Sailor Moon represents. I think even Vice News did a whole episode on how it touches so many in the LGBTQ plus communities around the world, because they're like, I see myself on screen, I can relate to that. And I think the more that our media shows, you know, representation, then and accepting of it, and that it's just normal, and then I think the world can maybe have a greater understanding or reflect that. I know one scene that I love with my character Chibiusa is when Uranus and Neptune are driving in the front seat of this little convertible that Uranus had. Yeah. And Chibi was in the back seat, and Uranus, you know, put her hand on Neptune's hand, and, you know, like just this loving touch. And she blushed and she turned pink, and she like acknowledged their love. Right. And I thought, this is great. This is great for people to see, you know, because it's just the real world. It's just, you know, it's just life. It's love is love, life is life, you know, just the world expressing itself through many different forms.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can say to that too. I've told this to other people, but growing up, I know that if it wasn't for me seeing Sailor Moon and other media that portrayed LGBT relationships, I wouldn't have been able to, at a young age, I know that I wouldn't have been able to be comfortable knowing that I was gay if I did like being comfortable about that, if I didn't see that represented in anime, because I didn't really have any other outlet for that at the time. So it definitely helped me too.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, you know, I think mainstream media over the past few years has been really being more conscious about representation of all kinds in their scripts. And so I think that's really great, because it's like kids need to see themselves on the screen and relate. And now I actually took a workshop, a producer's workshop, and the new thing is income inequality. Like kids, you know, they don't always grow up in perfect houses with a perfect mom. You know what I mean? They need to see, you know, that reflection of how situations are handled and how problems are solved, and see themselves represented. You know, not everybody gets to go to college and, you know, have a perfect house in a perfect neighborhood. So I love that too. So now they're, you know, these nonprofits are reaching out to the big companies and the writers and saying, we need to write some of this into your script so people are more represented. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that, I really think media is so powerful. You know, I'm personally not one that loves to see gratuitous violence, or, you know, I understand if it's a true story or something, but I like to see purposeful, more meaningful stories and storytelling. But I do think it has a big impact, and media is such a powerful film, is such a powerful way to educate and awaken, masses of people to situations that we have on the planet. So that's part of the work of our production company and our nonprofit, Love Planet Productions and Foundation, is to create media that has a little more mindfulness purpose to help, inspire, educate, encourage change.
I do actually have a story that I've told to a few people who were also in series that I mentioned alongside of you, cast members. When I was in 4th grade, my family and I were just out to eat at a restaurant that we went to all the time, and then we were about to leave, and then we were told that nobody could leave, and then all of a sudden heavily armed SWAT policemen come inside and they turn all the lights off, and then everybody who was in the restaurant had to huddle into both of the bathrooms for something like 5 hours because there was a guy who killed 2 people, and he crashed his car outside the restaurant. He was trying to get in the restaurant. And I know with how young I was at that time, and that was 4th grade was when I first discovered the dot hack games and Disgaea and stuff like that. And I know that if I wasn't consuming that to get over that incident at that time, then I wouldn't have been able to feel better any other way. So just thank you for being part of those.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's really, and we're seeing this over and over with young children, especially, right?
Yeah.
But that's just that's a trauma, it takes a long time and to consciously work to heal that, because, especially, children and teens, those things sink in, and that fear, and well, I commend you for getting through that. Yeah. And everything that you're learning about yourself and sharing. So
thank you. Well, my final question is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, my legacy. I think for me, gosh, that I left the planet with positivity and joy, and just left an energetic imprint on the planet, that whether it's through my work or my causes, that I'm able to inspire others to just be better humans and take care of our planet. So yeah, just to be more kind, loving human beings, just like my characters. So many of my characters inspire love and justice and kindness, but then also acknowledge that we're all connected, that each and every one of us are connected to each other and our planet. So if we can start thinking, globally and taking care of each other, and, kind of go from there, like create positive change, because there's so much happening. There's a lot happening in the world right now, and it's a lot for people that, mental health is a big thing, and people are really struggling with how to even process the world right out, around them, let alone in their personal community and families. So I just hope that I can keep making media that inspires, goodness in people and the planet.
Well, thank you. This was an honor.
Oh, I was honored to be with you today too, Chris. Thank you. And thank you for putting out, our stories. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, have a good rest of your Sunday.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye everybody.